My daughter and son invited me to the sauna. They locked me in and turned the temperature to maximum. As I was losing consciousness from the heat, I overheard a conversation. In a minute, her heart won't be able to take it. But if only they knew what nightmare awaited them. Darkness pulsed before my eyes. The heat seared my skin, burrowed deeper, reaching all the way to my bones. The air, thick and blistering hot, barely pushed its way into my lungs. I felt my heart pounding in my chest. Too fast, too desperate. It was as if it was trying to leap out of my body, to escape the unbearable heat. "Children," I whispered, pressing my forehead against the wooden door. "Please, let me out." Behind the door, silence. Only a faint whisper, barely audible through the haze of oncoming oblivion. Sweat streamed down my face, my neck, my back. My clothes clung to my body. I banged on the door, but my hands were so weak that the sound came out dull, barely noticeable. "Mary. Michael." My voice grew fainter. "Please." I slid down against the door, collapsing to the floor. My lungs burned, black dots danced before my eyes, and through the approaching darkness I heard Michael's voice. "In a minute, her heart won't be able to take it." I tried to scream, but only a rasp escaped my throat. My children, my own children. Why? Darkness spread. My consciousness slipped away, dissolving in heat and pain. The last thought that flickered in my mind was that perhaps I deserved this ending. Trapped, suffocating in the sauna, betrayed by my own children. The darkness closed over me. My life flashed before my eyes in an instant. And I will tell you the story of how I became the victim of my own children. Poverty has its own smell, musty, with hints of dampness, mold, and unfulfilled hopes. In our tiny apartment on the outskirts of Queens, that smell was everywhere. It had seeped into the worn-out wallpaper, into the scuffed linoleum floors, into the old furniture left behind by previous tenants. The neighborhood wasn't the best. Shabby 5-story buildings, graffiti on the walls, trash on the sidewalks. At night, you'd often hear screams and the wail of police sirens. But our third-floor apartment, 2 tiny rooms, a kitchen no bigger than a closet, and a bathroom so cramped an adult could hardly turn around, was all we could afford. I remember when Michael, who was 9 at the time, once asked me, "Mom, why is our apartment so small?" I tried to smile, because we all live very close to each other, and that helps us be closer and love each other more. He nodded as if that made sense. Children always accept what adults tell them, especially when it comes from their mother. John, my husband, died when Michael was 7, Mary was 5, and little Maya had just started kindergarten. A construction site accident, scaffolding collapsed, and just like that, I was left alone with 3 children, no education, no support, and medical debt. I found a job at a laundromat and worked evenings as a cleaner in an office building in Manhattan. I got up at 5 in the morning, returned home at 11 at night. Mary, the eldest girl, was forced to care for the younger ones from an early age. Sometimes, watching her at 12 cook dinner, help Maya with homework, or mend Michael's worn-out socks, I felt a sharp pang of guilt. I was stealing her childhood, but I had no choice. Our fridge was more often than not half empty. Meat appeared on the table maybe once a week, on Sundays when I made a stew, stretching it out for several days. Clothes were handed down from one child to another or came from charities. For birthdays, one gift, never more than $20. For Christmas, socks, scarves, and mittens, I knitted in the rare free hours I had, and 1 chocolate bar each. I saved on everything, turned off the lights the moment we left a room, cut hot showers to a minimum, bought expired food at discount stores. I learned how to make meals out of nothing that the children would still eat with joy. Vegetable scrap soup, pancakes from stale bread, casseroles from the leftovers of yesterday's dinner. Sometimes I sat late at night in the kitchen, counting coins, trying to stretch our meager budget to the next paycheck. I cried, pressing my face into a towel so the children wouldn't hear. Then I'd wipe my tears, straighten my back, and keep going. I had no right to give up, not when 3 children depended on me. After John's death, I lived in constant fear, afraid I'd fall ill and wouldn't be able to work, afraid we'd be evicted, afraid one of the children would get into trouble or the wrong company. But more than anything, I was afraid of losing them. I worked too much to be with them all the time. In a way, they grew up on their own, on the streets of Queens, among other kids from poor families. I did my best to instill the right values, to teach them honesty, hard work, and to care for one another. And they grew despite it all. Michael, quiet, thoughtful, gifted in both drawing and math. Mary, practical beyond her years, sharp-minded with a will of iron. And Maya, my sunshine child, always smiling, always seeing the best in people and in life. When Michael and Mary got into college, both on full scholarships, I thought our life would finally begin to improve. Maya was finishing school, dreaming of studying medicine. A scholarship was likely in her future, too. For the first time, I began to believe that the hardest part was behind us. I always told my children, education is your ticket to a better life. Study, become better than me. Achieve more. And they tried. For me, for themselves, for our shared future. And then came that graduation. Maya was special. In our family, where every day was a struggle for survival, she somehow managed to see beauty and joy. When Michael and Mary had become too grown up and serious before their time, Maya remained a child, with wide open eyes that reflected the whole world. At 17, she was full of hopes and dreams. Graduation was not just a school event for her, it was a symbol of one life ending and another, happier one beginning. I remember how she saved up for her prom dress. She worked weekends at a cafe, babysat for the neighbors, counted every penny. She denied herself little things, a new lipstick, a movie ticket, a pair of shoes. "Mom, it'll be the most beautiful dress in the world," she said as she tallied her savings. "I'll look like a princess in it." And when she finally bought that dress, pale blue, with bare shoulders and a beaded bodice, her eyes shone with such happiness that it took my breath away. She twirled in front of the mirror, the dress swirling around her like a cloud. The fabric shimmered and flowed in the lamplight. "Brandon said, 'I'll be the most beautiful girl at prom,'" she whispered, gazing at her reflection. Brandon Stevens, captain of the school football team, the boy every girl in school swooned over. Maya had been in love with him since 8th grade. When he asked her to the prom, she came running home, screaming with joy. I had never seen her so happy. Prom was set for Saturday, May 12th. A week before, I began noticing that I wasn't sleeping well. A vague unease gnawed at me. I chalked it up to exhaustion, to the nerves of Maya leaving for college soon, to anxiety about the future. But then, in the early hours of Wednesday, I had that dream. I saw Maya standing in the middle of the street. She was wearing her prom dress, pale blue with bare shoulders and a beaded bodice. She was so beautiful, so fragile. She smiled and reached her hands out toward me. And then, out of nowhere, a car appeared. Black, with tinted windows. It was speeding straight at her, but she didn't seem to notice, still smiling. I tried to scream, to warn her, but my voice wouldn't obey. I ran toward her, but my legs felt stuck in molasses. I couldn't move. The screech of brakes, a dull thud. And Maya, my Maya, was lying on the asphalt, a dark pool spreading around her. Her blue dress, soaked through with blood, turned crimson. I woke up screaming, trembling, my heart racing, my face wet with tears. The clock on the wall read 3 a.m. Outside, rain was drumming against the window. With shaking hands, I turned on the nightlight and sat up in bed, trying to steady my breathing. It was only a dream, a horrible, ghastly dream, but just a dream. And yet it felt so real. I could almost smell the blood, hear the screech of the brakes, and I could still see Maya's lifeless eyes staring into nothing. I couldn't fall back asleep until morning, and when Maya came out of her room, fresh and smiling, her hair tied back, dressed in her school uniform, I felt a wave of nausea rise in my throat. For a split second, the vision from the dream flashed again before my eyes, her lying on the asphalt in a pool of blood. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked, frowning. "You look pale." I nodded, not trusting my voice. She shrugged and headed for the fridge to get some milk. All day I couldn't shake the feeling. It sat inside me like a cold stone, a bad omen, a forewarning. By evening, I had made my decision. When Maya came back from school, I was sitting in the kitchen, clutching a cup of long, cold coffee. "Maya," I said, trying to make my voice firm, "you're not going to prom." She froze in the doorway, not believing her ears. "What, Mom, you're joking." "No, I'm serious. You can't go to prom." "But why?" Her voice trembled. "What did I do?" "Nothing." I shook my head. "It's not that. I have a bad feeling. I think something terrible will happen if you go." She stared at me as if I'd grown a second head. "A feeling? You're forbidding me from going to prom because of a feeling." "I had a dream," I tried to explain. "You were at prom, in your dress, and you died, Maya. A car hit you. It was so real." "That was just a dream, Mom," she cried, her voice rising. "Just a stupid dream. You can't forbid me from going to prom because of some dream." "I can," I said, standing up, "and I forbid it. You're not going anywhere this Saturday. End of discussion." Tears welled up in her eyes. "You can't do this to me. It's not fair. I've waited for this day for years. I saved up for the dress. Brandon asked me." "I don't care," I said, though inside my heart clenched at her tears. "Your safety is more important than some dance." "This isn't some dance," she screamed. "It's prom. The most important night of my life. How can you do this to me?" She stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door so hard the dishes on the shelves rattled. I heard her bedroom door slam, then muffled sobs. I stood there, gripping the edge of the table, feeling tears run down my cheeks. I knew I was being cruel. I knew I was breaking her heart. But fear was stronger. The fear of losing another loved one. The fear of seeing life leave the eyes I loved. That evening, Mary called. She and Michael came home once a month for the weekend, and this weekend they were planning to come for their little sister's prom. "How's it going, Mom?" she asked. "Are you getting ready for Saturday?" "Maya won't be going to prom," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Silence. "What? Why?" I told her about the dream, about my premonition, about the fear. "Mom," Mary said slowly, "you do realize that's insane, right? Forbidding her to go to prom because of a dream." "You don't understand," I protested. "It felt so real." "It was a dream, Mom," Mary cut in. "Just a dream. You can't run our lives because of your fears." "I'm her mother," I said, "and I decide what's safe for her and what isn't." "She's 17, Mom. In a year, she'll be off to college. You can't control her forever." "As long as she lives under my roof, she follows my rules." Mary made a sound like a snort. "I can't believe this. You're ruining her life because of your paranoia." "I'm protecting her," I said. "One day, when you have kids of your own, you'll understand." "If I ever treat my kids like you treat us, I hope someone slaps me," Mary snapped and hung up. I stood with the phone in my hand as a coldness spread through me. Mary had never spoken to me like that before. She'd always been level-headed, always tried to see my side. Half an hour later, Michael called. His voice sounded strained. "Mom, Mary told me about your decision. Is it true?" "Yes," I said, "and I'm not going to change it." "Look," he said slowly, choosing his words, "I understand you're worried about her. But forbidding her to go to prom because of a dream, don't you think that's too much? No. I shook my head, though he couldn't see me. I think it's a necessary precaution. Mom, his voice held desperation, please think again. It means so much to her. You don't know how long she's been waiting for this. I've decided, Michael, I said. End of discussion. He sighed. We'll come tomorrow night. Maybe if we talk to you in person, we can change your mind. I didn't answer. Inside, I felt certain I was doing the right thing, that I was saving my daughter from a terrible fate. The next 2 days felt like a battle. Maya locked herself in her room and refused to speak to me. She only came out when Mary and Michael arrived. The 3 of them sat in the kitchen trying to persuade me. They shouted, cried, begged, and offered arguments. Mary appealed to reason. Mom, the chance that the dream is prophetic is smaller than the chance of being bitten by a shark in Central Park. Michael appealed to fairness. She worked, saved her money, and waited for this day. Doesn't she deserve to be happy for one evening? Maya just cried and kept saying, please, Mom, please. But I was unyielding. With every hour and every argument, my resolve hardened. I couldn't explain what I felt. It was as if I let Maya go to that prom, I would lose her forever. On Friday evening, Maya made one last attempt. Mom, she said, entering my room, let's make a deal. You'll let me go to prom if Michael comes with us. He'll be with me the whole time. He'll make sure I'm safe. I shook my head. No, Maya. The decision stands. Then I hate you, she whispered, and there was such pain in her eyes that it took my breath away. I'll never forgive you for this. She ran from the room, slamming the door. I sat on the bed feeling my insides tighten. Maybe I was overdoing it. Maybe it was just a dream, a trick of the subconscious. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, lying on the asphalt in a pool of blood in that blue dress. And the fear returned, tightening my throat with an icy grip. On the day of the prom, I was on edge. From the morning, my heart felt like it was pounding up in my throat. Mary and Michael wouldn't speak to me, only threw me accusing looks. Maya didn't leave her room. In the evening, Mary and Michael went to the supermarket and I made dinner. Lasagna, Maya's favorite. A small gesture of reconciliation, a desperate attempt to atone. Maya, I called, standing at her door. Dinner's ready. Please come out. Silence answered. I waited a minute, then another. I knocked again. Maya, I know you're upset, but let's talk. Please. Still silence. Something inside me trembled. A vague unease rose from somewhere deep, clamping my throat with icy fingers. Maya? I knocked louder. Are you all right? Silence. The worry turned into panic. I yanked the knob. The door was locked. Maya! I screamed, pounding on the door. Maya, open immediately! I ran to the kitchen, hands shaking, pulled the spare key from the drawer. I came back to the door, fumbling the key into the lock. At last the catch clicked, and I flung the door open. The room was empty. The window was thrown wide. The curtains fluttered in the wind. I rushed to the window, and I saw her, in the pale blue prom dress, going down the fire escape. 3rd floor, the metal steps slick with evening dew, a fragile figure in the swirling gown. Maya! I shouted, leaning out the window. She turned, cried out in fright. Her hand slipped from the railing, a foot tangled in the long hem of the dress. One moment, and she fell, the dress billowing around her like the wings of a wounded bird. A dull thud. I ran down the stairs 2 at a time, stumbling, grabbing the rail. People were gathering in the yard. Someone was calling an ambulance. Maya lay on the asphalt, arms spread as if in flight. Her pale blue dress was slowly darkening, soaking through with blood. Let me through! I'm her mother! I shouted, pushing through the crowd of onlookers. I dropped to my knees beside her, afraid to touch her, afraid of causing any more pain. "Maya, baby," I whispered, running my hand through her hair. "Hold on, the ambulance is coming." Her eyes were open, huge, terrified, confused. Her lips moved. "Mom," she breathed, barely audible. I'm cold." "Shh, sweetheart," I said and took off my sweater to cover her. "It's okay. Hear the sirens? They're almost here." "Sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to." "No, you're the one who should forgive me." Tears blurred my vision. In that moment, Maya's eyes glazed over. Her gaze went empty, fixed on nothing. "No!" I cried, clutching her to me. "Maya, no!" Siren wail, flashing lights, hands pulling me away from her. "Please, ma'am, let the medics do their job." I sat on the curb, wrapped my arms around myself, rocking back and forth. Everything felt unreal, like a nightmare you can't wake from. An older woman, the neighbor from the first floor, came up and draped a blanket over my shoulders. "I saw her fall," she said quietly. She stepped on the hem of her dress and slipped. It was an accident. Internal bleeding, head trauma, a fractured spine. Maya had no chance. When Mary and Michael returned, it was already over. Maya, my sunshine girl, my last child, was dead. I remember their faces, white, frozen like masks. I remember Mary screaming when she saw her sister's body covered with a sheet. I remember Michael clenching his fists so hard his nails dug into his palms until they bled. "You did this," Mary whispered, looking at me with such hatred that I recoiled. "You killed her." "I didn't mean to," I tried to explain. "I was trying to protect her." "From what?" Mary shouted. "From happiness? From a normal life. You always suffocated us with your fears, your paranoia, and this is what it led to." "You're no longer our mother," Michael said quietly, and those words struck harder than Mary's screams. "We don't have a mother anymore." They turned away and left me alone in the cold hallway of the morgue, surrounded by the smell of disinfectant and death. The funeral passed like a fog. I stood apart, not daring to come closer. Mary and Michael held hands at the graveside, their shoulders touching as if seeking each other's support, shutting the world out from me. I tried to approach them after the service. Mary faced me. Her face was distorted. "Don't you dare," she spat through clenched teeth. "Don't you dare come near us. We don't want to see you. Ever." "You don't exist for us anymore," Michael added, and they walked away without looking back. I returned to our apartment, empty, lifeless. I sat at the kitchen table where once our family had sat, where we'd laughed, argued, dreamed about the future. That day I lost more than Maya. I lost all my children. The days after the funeral blurred into one endless nightmare. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Maya falling from the fire escape, her dress billowing like wings, her wide, terrified eyes. I called Mary and Michael every day. At first, they just didn't pick up. Then they started rejecting my calls. In the end, they blocked my number. I wrote letters, left messages on social media. I begged them not to blame me, pleaded for forgiveness, for a chance to talk. It was all in vain. Once I went to the college where Michael studied. I waited outside his dorm for hours. When he finally came out, he just walked past me, as if he didn't recognize me, as if I were invisible. The emptiness inside me grew. First John, then Maya, and Mary and Michael, who had turned away from me. I was utterly alone in a world where I had once been part of a family. Work, home, sleep, then work again. Mechanical movements, automatic reactions. I existed, but I wasn't living. I kept Maya's room just as it had been. Sometimes I sat there for hours, going through her things, breathing in what was left of her scent, her shampoo, the perfume she saved for special occasions. Her prom dress, stained with blood, was returned by the police months later, when the investigation was closed. "Accident," the report said. I washed it, but the stains never came out completely. Faint pink traces remained forever on the pale blue fabric, like bloodstains on my soul. The years passed. I grew older, gaunter. My hair turned gray before its time. Sometimes, looking in the mirror, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. Eyes empty, deep wrinkles carved into what had once been a smooth face. I kept calling Mary and Michael on their birthdays, at Christmas, year after year with no answer. I checked their social media pages, learning about their lives from photos and posts. Michael graduated from college, got a job at a big IT company. I saw pictures of his office, his new apartment, his colleagues he went drinking with after work. Mary became a lawyer, just as she had dreamed. She specialized in family law, defending children from troubled homes. The bitter irony, she was saving other children while turning her back on her own mother. 5 years after Maya's death, my phone finally rang with Mary's number. I dropped the cup I was holding and grabbed the phone with trembling fingers. "Hello?" My voice shook. "Mom?" Mary sounded different, older, more serious. But it was her voice, my eldest daughter's voice, one I hadn't heard in so long. "Mary," I couldn't hold back my tears. "Mary, I'm so happy to hear you." "We'd like to meet with you," she said. Her tone carried no warmth, only a professional restraint. "Are you free this Saturday?" "Yes, of course." I would have dropped anything for the chance to see them. Where and when? "At Marco's Cafe, 2 o'clock. You know where it is?" "Yes, I'll find it." "Mary, But she had already hung up. I didn't sleep a minute that night before the meeting. I went through my wardrobe trying to find something suitable. I rehearsed in front of the mirror what I wanted to say. I cried from both joy and fear. Marco's Cafe turned out to be a cozy little Italian place in Manhattan. I arrived half an hour early, took a table in the corner, ordered a coffee I was too nervous to drink. They walked in exactly at 2. They came together, tall, beautiful, confident. Mary in a tailored suit, her hair in a bun, a light touch of makeup highlighting her features. Michael in jeans and a sweater, faint stubble on his face, his eyes tired. I stood, took a step toward them, then froze, not sure if I was allowed to hug them. Mary gave a curt nod. Michael just looked past me. "Thank you for coming," I said once we sat at the table. "We have a reason," Mary replied, opening the menu. "Let's order first, then talk." We ordered pasta and wine. The waiter brought bread and filled our glasses with water. The whole time, we sat in uneasy silence. "How are you both?" I asked once the waiter left. "I saw that you became a lawyer, Mary. And you, Michael, you're working at an IT company? You've been following us on social media." It wasn't a question, but a statement. Mary looked at me without a smile. "You've been invading our privacy all these years." "I just wanted to know you were all right," I murmured. "I'm your mother. I worried." "You lost the right to worry about us the day Maya died," Mary cut me off. I lowered my eyes, tears rising in my throat. "I know you blame me. And I blame myself. Every day, every night since then. If I could go back and change—" "But you can't," Michael interrupted. "No one can." Our food arrived. We ate in heavy silence. I barely tasted anything, just moved the fork mechanically to my mouth. "Why did you want to meet me?" I finally asked. "After all these years?" Mary and Michael exchanged a look. Something passed between them, a silent agreement. "We wanted to check on you," Michael said, "to make sure you're all right." "It's been 5 years," Mary added, staring into her plate. "We thought maybe it was time, not to forget, but to move on." I closed my eyes, feeling the tears finally break through. "Thank you," I whispered. "I've missed you so much." Something flickered across Mary's face. Michael looked away, his fingers tightening around his glass. "We missed you too," he said quietly, "despite everything." I reached my hands across the table, not daring to touch them, but offering contact. After a moment's hesitation, Mary placed her hand over mine. Michael waited a beat, then did the same. We sat like that, connected by touch, and I felt the emptiness inside me begin to fill with something warm. "I want to tell you about that day," I said. "About what I felt, about my dream, about my fears. Not to justify myself, just so you understand." And I told them everything. About the dream, the dreadful premonition, the panic that overtook me when I saw Maya on the fire escape. About how I screamed in terror, realizing that my dream was coming true, but not in the way I thought. They listened silently. I saw tears glisten in Mary's eyes, saw Michael clench his jaw to keep his emotions in check. "I'll never forgive myself for what happened," I finished. "I'll never stop blaming myself. But if there's even the slightest chance that someday you might forgive me, I'll wait, as long as it takes." "We'll try," Mary said softly. "I can't promise it will be easy, but we'll try." I nodded, unable to speak, gratitude overflowing inside me. After that meeting, we began seeing each other regularly, at first once a month, then every 2 weeks. They would come together to my home, and I cooked dinner. We remembered Maya, not the moment of her death, but her life, her laughter, her jokes, her dreams. Slowly, step by step, we began to rebuild our family, not as it had been before, but still a family. And then I noticed something was wrong. At first, it was little things. Meetings canceled at the last minute. Strange glances exchanged between Mary and Michael when they thought I wasn't looking. Phone calls cut short when I entered the room. Once I accidentally saw a message on Mary's phone when she had stepped into the bathroom and left it on the kitchen table. The screen lit up, showing the name Seraphim and the start of a message, "Don't forget about." I looked away, not wanting to intrude into my daughter's private life, but the name struck me as strange. Seraphim? Who was that? I asked Mary about it when she came back. She went pale and grabbed her phone. "It's a colleague from work," she said too quickly, "about a case we're handling." But her reaction was far too nervous for just a work contact. Another time, I noticed a strange pendant on Michael's neck, a silver circle with a symbol that looked like a star inside. When I asked about it, Michael quickly tucked the pendant under his shirt. "Just jewelry," he said, "nothing special." A mother's intuition told me they were hiding something serious, but I was afraid to push, afraid to lose them again when our bond was only just starting to heal. The next strange incident happened when Mary invited me to her place for dinner. I arrived a little earlier than planned. She hadn't gotten back from work yet, but Michael was there and opened the door. While he busied himself in the kitchen, I asked to use the bathroom. On the way, I noticed a door left slightly ajar. Some strange curiosity made me peek inside. In the dimly lit room stood a low table draped in dark red cloth. On the table lay a silver medallion with the same symbol, a circle with a star inside, exactly like the one I had seen on Michael's pendant. "Mom?" Michael's voice behind me made me flinch. "What are you doing here?" I turned. He stood in the doorway, his face tense. "Sorry," I mumbled. "I was looking for the bathroom and accidentally—" "The bathroom's the other way," he said, stepping closer and shutting the door. "Come on, I'll show you." He looked at me for a long moment, as though weighing something. A sense of unease swelled inside me. Something was wrong with my children. Something serious. Dinner was strained. Mary and Michael exchanged quick glances when they thought I wasn't watching. Conversation wouldn't flow, no matter how I tried to steer it to neutral topics. "By the way, Mom," Michael said, glancing at Mary and then back at me, "we were thinking maybe we could go to the sauna together this weekend. I found a great place. Quiet, private." Mary flinched slightly, but quickly smiled. "Yes, good idea. You should relax, Mom. You look exhausted." I looked at my children, trying to read their strange behavior. "That's unexpected," I said cautiously. "But sure. I haven't been to a sauna in a long time." "Perfect!" Michael clapped his hands with forced enthusiasm. "Tomorrow at 4 then? I'll come pick you up." "No need. I can get there myself. Just send me the address." No, Mary objected quickly. "It's a bit hard to find. Better if we pick you up." Something in her tone made me wary, but I nodded, not wanting to spoil the rare moment of closeness with my children. "All right, I'll be waiting at 4. The next day, I spent in a strange state. Anticipation of seeing my children was mixed with an unease I couldn't explain. Something told me their invitation wasn't just a wish to spend time together. At exactly 4 o'clock, Michael's car pulled up outside my house. They sat together in the front seats, unnaturally stiff, like taut strings. When I got in the back, Mary turned with a smile that never reached her eyes. "How are you feeling, Mom?" "Good," I answered, fastening my seatbelt. "Where exactly are we going?" "You'll see." Michael met my eyes in the rearview mirror. "It's a small private club outside the city. Very atmospheric." We drove for about an hour, leaving the city behind. Conversation didn't flow. My children answered in single words, often glancing at each other. I noticed Mary nervously fidgeting with a silver medallion at her neck, the same one I'd seen on Michael, a circle with a star inside. Finally, we turned onto a narrow road through the woods. A few more minutes and the car stopped near a wooden structure resembling a large log cabin. "We're here," Michael announced, cutting the engine. The place seemed deserted. No other cars, no sign of staff or visitors. "Strange, there's no one here," I remarked, stepping out of the car. "It's a private club," Mary repeated. "We booked the whole place for just the 3 of us. So no one would disturb our family reunion." Something in the way she said those last words made me shiver. Inside it was warm and smelled of cedar. A spacious lounge with a fireplace, several doors leading to other rooms. Through one, I glimpsed a pool with shimmering blue water. "Make yourself comfortable, Mom," Michael pointed to a wicker chair. "Would you like some tea before the sauna?" "Yes, thank you." I sat down, looking around. Beautiful place. Must have cost a fortune? "Don't worry about that." Mary took a teapot from the shelf. "We earn well." "The changing room is there." Michael pointed to the door on the left. "You'll find everything you need. Towels, slippers, robe." I changed into a white terry robe that was too big for me. When I came back, they were already waiting, also in robes, cups of herbal tea in their hands. "Here," Mary handed me a cup, "a special herbal blend." I took a sip. "So, ready to steam?" Mary asked, taking back my cup. Her hands trembled slightly. "Of course." We went through another door into a small room with wooden walls and benches. In the center, a stone stove radiating heat. "Authentic Finnish sauna," Michael explained, closing the door behind us. "I'll add some steam." He poured water onto the glowing stones, and the room filled with thick vapor, scented with eucalyptus. I removed my robe, left in my swimsuit, and lay down on the top bench. The heat wrapped around my body, loosening my muscles. I closed my eyes, savoring the sensation. "We'll leave you for a bit," I heard Mary's voice. "Rest, relax." Through half-lowered lids, I saw them exchange strange looks. Then both stepped out. I heard the door close, and then the click of a lock. I sat up, the drowsiness instantly gone. "Mary? Michael?" Silence. I went to the door, pulled the handle. Locked. "Children?" Fear surged through me. "What's going on?" Muted voices came from the other side. I pressed my ear to the wooden surface. "Children," I whispered, pressing my forehead to the door. "Please, let me out." Behind the door, silence. Only a faint whisper, barely audible through the haze of growing oblivion. The sauna's temperature seemed to rise. The air grew thinner. Sweat streamed down my face, my neck, my back. My heart pounded faster than normal. "Michael, Mary," my voice cracked. "What did I do to you? Why are you doing this to me?" "Sit quietly," Michael's voice answered. The heat intensified. I begged my children to open the door. Each minute stretched into eternity. I slid down to the floor, lungs burning. Black dots danced before my eyes. And through the approaching darkness, I heard Michael's voice. "In a minute, her heart won't hold out." I tried to scream, but only a rasp escaped my throat. My children. My own children. Why? Darkness clouded my vision. Consciousness slipped away, dissolving into heat and pain. My last thought was not of myself, but of them, and of that day when everything went wrong, of how I, Patricia Green, became the cause of my own daughter's death, and of how, perhaps, I deserved this end, locked in, suffocating in a sauna, betrayed by my own children. The darkness closed over me. Through it, voices reached me, muffled, as if from under deep water. "You're insane. Seraphim will find out. I don't care." But Seraphim said, "To hell with Seraphim." I tried to open my eyes, but my eyelids were heavy, weighted with lead. My life began to flash before me. My husband, Maya, Michael, Mary, memories streaming past at the speed of light, until I sank fully into the abyss. But something cold crashed over me, ripping me out of oblivion. I coughed, gasping for air, and opened my eyes. Mary and Michael loomed over me. In Mary's hands, I saw an empty ladle. She had just doused me with icy water. We were still in the sauna, but the door was open now, and cool air rushed inside. "Mom!" Mary fell to her knees beside me, cupping my face in trembling hands. "You're alive!" "Thank God." Michael stood by the door, pale, his eyes wild. "What have we done?" he whispered. "What have we done?" I tried to pull away from Mary, but I had no strength. "Why?" I croaked, my throat raw, my voice barely working. "Why did you do this?" Mary burst into tears, pressing her face against my shoulder. "Forgive us, Mom. Please forgive us." Michael slowly sank to the floor, clutching his head in his hands. "It was Seraphim," he said dully. "He convinced us that you had to die." "Who is Seraphim?" I forced the words out. Mary and Michael exchanged a glance. In their eyes, I saw fear, shame, confusion. "Our teacher," Mary finally answered. "The leader of the community we belong to." "Cult," Michael corrected. "Let's call it what it is." "We're in a cult, Mary." I tried to sit up. Mary helped, sliding a folded towel behind my back. "Tell me," I demanded. "Everything, from the beginning." They helped me out of the sauna, settled me into a wicker chair in the lounge, wrapped me in a blanket. Mary brought a glass of cold water. I drank greedily, feeling life creep back into my battered body. They spoke in turns, interrupting each other, sometimes stopping when emotion overwhelmed them. After Maya's death and the break with me, they had both fallen into depression. Michael started drinking. Mary withdrew into herself. One day on campus, a girl approached Michael. Beautiful, with kind eyes and a warm smile. She invited him to a support group for people who had lost loved ones. "They called themselves the Circle of Seraphim," Michael said. "They told us they could help us overcome grief, find new meaning in life." At first it seemed harmless. Weekly meetings, conversations, meditation. Michael invited Mary along. For the first time in a long time, they felt they weren't alone, that someone understood their pain. "Seraphim appeared after a month," Mary continued. "He was extraordinary. He spoke in a way that made it impossible not to believe him. Gradually, the meetings became stranger. Rituals appeared, meditations gave way to group trances. Seraphim demanded more and more money for expanding consciousness, for preparing the great transition." We gave him everything, Michael said. Scholarships, money from part-time jobs, and when we graduated and started working, even more. But it was never enough. Seraphim knew about our past, about Maya's death. He used it. Mary's eyes filled with tears. He said the only way to be free of the pain was to close the circle. Blood for blood. Your death had to be the atonement for Maya's. And he wanted your apartment too, Michael added. He found out it was in your name, debt-free. Said we had to sell it after your death and give the money to the community. It all had to look like an accident. An elderly woman goes to a sauna, collapses, heart attack. He told us we'd be free of pain, Mary whispered, that we'd be blissful. And you believed him? I couldn't hide the bitterness in my voice. We were broken, Mom. Michael lifted his eyes to mine, filled with anguish. After Maya's death, after losing you, we clung to any shred of hope. And Seraphim knows how to persuade. It's like he sees right through you, knows your deepest fears and desires. I looked at my children, worn down, confused, deceived. The anger I had felt a moment ago was replaced by compassion. What now? I asked. What happens when this Seraphim finds out you didn't kill me? Mary and Michael exchanged another glance. I don't know, Michael admitted. No one's ever gone against his will before. He's dangerous, Mom. Really dangerous. We have to run. Mary jumped to her feet. Right now. Go somewhere far away where he can't find us. I shook my head slowly. No. Running isn't the answer. How many people, besides you, are in this cult? About 30, Michael replied. Many of them, like us, lost someone. Others were just lost in life, searching for answers. And he's deceiving them all? Taking their money, manipulating them? Yes, Mary nodded. Some have given him their entire savings. Someone even sold their house, their car. I straightened in the chair, feeling a determination awaken in me that I hadn't felt in years. We're not going to run, I said firmly. We're going to stop this man. Mary and Michael exchanged worried looks. My sudden fighting spirit had clearly caught them off guard. Mom, you don't understand, Mary shook her head. Seraphim, he's dangerous. He has connections everywhere, money, influence. And he'll stop at nothing, Michael added. Literally nothing. I stood, feeling a surge of strength. How many more people is he deceiving? How many families is he destroying? The next few days we spent working out a plan. Mary reached out to her old classmate Tom, who worked in the police. After some hesitation, he agreed to help, but warned us that we would need solid evidence. Michael and Mary continued attending the Circle of Seraphim's meetings, pretending nothing had changed. They told Seraphim that the purification ritual had been successful, that I had died of a heart attack in the sauna, and everything looked like an accident. Seraphim was pleased. He declared that Mary and Michael had now reached a new level of enlightenment and would soon be ready for the Great Transition. He demanded that they sell my apartment as quickly as possible and bring him the money for preparing the final ritual. He's becoming more insistent, Mary told me during a secret meeting. He keeps talking about a decisive day that's coming, that all the chosen must be ready for the transition. That sounds ominous, I remarked, like he's preparing a mass suicide. That's what we think too, Michael nodded. Some of the members have started getting strange instructions. Seraphim told everyone to write wills, leaving all their assets to his foundation. Time was against us. We had to act quickly. Tom dug up information about Seraphim's past. His real name was Victor Morris, a former psychology professor fired after a harassment scandal with students. He had an entire network of shell companies and offshore accounts where the followers' money was funneled. Mary managed to find an ally among the circle's members, Linda Cohen, a widow who had recently sold her house and given all the money to Seraphim in exchange for the promise of an astral connection with her late husband. Linda had begun to doubt, especially after another member, Jason, disappeared. He had wanted to leave the cult and reclaim his money. Our plan was simple. Mary and Michael would meet Seraphim, supposedly to hand over the money from selling my apartment, and record the conversation in which he would reveal his true intentions. The police would be standing by. "This is too risky," I objected. "We don't have a choice, Mom," Michael answered firmly. "If Seraphim really is planning a mass suicide, the countdown is in days." The meeting was set for Friday evening in Seraphim's office, a luxurious penthouse downtown. Mary and Michael were fitted with hidden microphones. I sat in a police van nearby, listening to every word. At first, everything went according to plan. Mary and Michael handed Seraphim an envelope with the supposed money from the apartment sale. He was pleased. "This contribution brings you closer to the highest enlightenment." His voice was soft, persuasive. "Soon, we will all make the great transition." "Tell us more about this transition, teacher," Mary asked cautiously. "How exactly will it happen?" "It will be painless," Seraphim replied. "A special drink that I will prepare personally for each of the chosen. You'll simply fall asleep and awaken in a new reality with the ones you love." A chill ran through me. He really was planning to poison his followers. "And the money?" Michael asked. "Why do you need it if we're all going to transition?" Silence. Too long a silence. "Interesting question, Michael." Seraphim's voice changed, turning colder. "Very interesting. You know what else is interesting? That little thing Mary's wearing under her blouse. You thought I wouldn't notice?" A thud, Mary's scream, the sound of a struggle. "SWAT team, go!" Tom shouted into his radio. "Now!" But it was too late. When the police burst into the penthouse, no one was there. Only Mary's abandoned microphone on the floor and a note. "The family must reunite. All 3 of your children will soon be together. Do not try to find them." 4 days passed in frantic searching. Police checked every known Seraphim address, his financial transactions, his calls. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, rushing between the precinct and the temporary shelter Tom had arranged for me. On the 5th day, a video arrived. It had been sent to my email from an anonymous server. In the recording, Mary and Michael sat bound to chairs, gags in their mouths. Behind them stood a masked man, tall, broad-shouldered. Marcus, Seraphim's bodyguard, as Linda later explained to me. Then Seraphim himself appeared in the frame, unmasked, wearing a smug smile. "Hello, Patricia," he said. "Glad you're alive." That makes our game far more interesting. He stepped up to Mary and ran his hand through her hair. She flinched, trying to pull away. "Your children are more loyal to me than to you," he continued. "They were ready to kill you for me. But they're weak. They gave in to sentimentality. They'll pay for that." He took a syringe filled with a clear liquid from his pocket. "You have 2 days to find us," he said, pressing the syringe to Mary's neck, "or your children will make the transition to the other world. Without you." The video cut off, and I was frozen in terror. Experts immediately began analyzing the footage, every frame, every sound, any detail that might point to a location. "The walls are wooden," one specialist noted, "and you can hear the surf. They're somewhere by the water." Linda Cohen, who had been cooperating with the police, remembered something important. Seraphim once mentioned a place of power on the ocean shore. He said the boundary between worlds is thinner there, and the transition would be easier. But he didn't say where. We feverishly searched for any lead. Tom checked every property tied to Seraphim or his inner circle. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. While replaying the video, I noticed a framed photo on the wall behind Michael. It showed a lighthouse on a rocky shore. "Zoom in," I urged the tech. After enhancing the image, it became clear. The photo was of the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse in North Carolina. Does Seraphim or his circle have any ties to North Carolina? Tom asked. An officer checked the database quickly. Nothing under Victor Morris, but there is Eliza Cortez. Her parents owned a house on the Outer Banks near the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. After they died, it passed to her. That must be it, I cried. A remote place by the ocean, far from the city. Property that's hard to trace to Seraphim. Tom immediately contacted North Carolina police. They confirmed the house exists and there had been movement. Several people arrived 2 days ago. The rescue operation was scheduled for the next morning. I insisted on flying with the SWAT team. It's too dangerous, Tom protested. They're my children, I said firmly. I have to be there. When our plane touched down in North Carolina, local police already had the house surrounded but kept their distance, worried for the hostages' lives. Recon confirmed. Seraphim, Eliza, Marcus, and likely Mary and Michael were in the house. Tom insisted I stay in a safe place, the mobile command center. But when everyone was focused on planning the raid, I slipped away. Eliza's house, a white cottage on the ocean, was visible from the beach. I moved cautiously, hiding behind dunes and shore vegetation. My heart pounded so loudly it seemed to drown out the surf. Approaching the terrace, I heard voices inside. Seraphim and Eliza were arguing. It's too risky, Eliza said. We have to leave now. The boat is ready. We'll wait for her, Seraphim replied firmly. She will come. Maternal instinct is stronger than fear. And what if she brings the police? She won't risk it. Not when her children's lives are at stake. Eliza shook her head. You're too obsessed with this family. We could already be far from here, on our way to South America. I need to finish what I started, Seraphim snapped. That woman nearly ruined everything I've built for years. She must pay. They all must pay. Suddenly, Eliza turned her head and spotted me through the glass door. Her eyes widened in surprise. Seraphim, she's here! He turned. Our eyes met. A predatory smile spread across his face. Patricia, he said, I knew you would come. Maternal instinct, so predictable. I stepped back onto the terrace. There was nowhere to run. The ocean behind me, open beach on either side. Where are my children? I asked, forcing my voice to be steady. They're safe. For now, Seraphim stepped onto the terrace, Eliza following him. I saw a pistol in her hand. Their fate depends on you. What do you want? Justice, he answered. You interfered with my plans. You ruined my best students. You must pay. For what? I couldn't hide the bitterness in my voice. For not letting you manipulate my children? For deceiving people, stealing their money, pushing them towards suicide? His face twisted with rage. You understand nothing. I gave them hope, a purpose, meaning. What could be more important to someone who has lost everything? Truth, I replied. Honesty. Real support, not manipulation for money. Enough talk, Eliza cut in. Marcus reported police cars approaching the property. Seraphim nodded. It's time to reunite the family, he said to me. Your children are waiting for you. In the boathouse. He pointed to a small wooden structure down the shore. I recognized it. That was where the video had been filmed. Let's go. Seraphim made an inviting gesture. And no nonsense. I had no choice. With a gun pressed to my back, I walked toward the boathouse, feeling the sand grind under my feet. Inside, I saw them, Mary and Michael tied to chairs, gags in their mouths, alive. Their eyes widened when they saw me. Mom! Mary cried when Seraphim removed her gag. Why did you come? It's a trap. I couldn't leave you, I answered, trying to keep my voice calm. Stay where you are, Seraphim ordered. Eliza, tie her up. Eliza came up behind me and roughly wrenched my arms back. I felt the rope bite into my wrists. Seraphim pulled the syringe from his pocket, the same one from the video. "You know what this is?" he asked, holding it up to the light. "A special mixture. First, euphoria, a sense of flight, then drowsiness, and finally, cardiac arrest. Quick, painless, the perfect transition." "Don't touch my mother," Michael screamed, struggling against his bindings. "Quiet!" Seraphim turned on him. "You were the first to betray the circle. You will be the first to transition." He took a step toward Michael, raising the syringe. "No!" I lunged forward despite my bound hands. "Kill me, but spare them." Seraphim paused, watching me with interest. "A mother's sacrifice. How touching. But I'm afraid that option isn't in my plans. You all must go. Together." At that moment, a loud crack sounded outside, then a shout. Eliza flinched and turned toward the door. "What's that?" "Check," Seraphim ordered. Eliza cautiously peered outside. "Police!" she cried. "They're everywhere!" Outside, a voice amplified through a megaphone rang out. "Victor Morris! The building is surrounded. Come out with your hands up! Release the hostages!" "They're bluffing," Seraphim hissed. "They won't storm the place while you're here." "I'm not so sure," Eliza muttered, nervously glancing out the window. "That's SWAT. "Quiet!" Seraphim barked. "Let me think." While they were distracted, Mary quietly picked something up from the floor, a rusty piece of chain probably once used for mooring a boat. Our eyes met. I gave her the faintest nod. When Eliza turned away from the window, Mary struck like lightning. She swung the chain, hitting Eliza's hand. The gun clattered to the wooden floor. Seraphim jerked around, instinctively reacting to the noise. I seized the moment. I threw my head back, slamming him in the face, and tore free from his loosened grip. The boathouse doors burst open with a crash. Police officers in tactical gear stormed in, weapons trained on Seraphim and Eliza. "Police! Drop your weapons! Down on the ground! Hands on your head!" After a moment's hesitation, Eliza sank to her knees, raising her hands. But Seraphim didn't give up. With a furious cry, he lunged at me, still clutching the syringe. The gunshot was deafening in the cramped boathouse. Seraphim froze mid-stride, his eyes wide in shock. He looked down at the spreading red stain on his chest, then back up at me. The syringe slipped from his fingers. He collapsed to the floor. Tom appeared in the doorway, his pistol still trained on the fallen Seraphim. Medics rushed to him, but it was too late. The man who had nearly destroyed our family was dead. The following weeks passed in a haze. Interrogations, statements, endless conversations with the police and FBI. Eliza cooperated with the investigation, hoping for a lighter sentence. She told them everything. About Seraphim's financial schemes, his plans for mass suicide among his followers, the fate of Jason, whose body was later found buried in the woods. A year after those events, on Maya's birthday, we gathered in my apartment. We made her favorite cake, lit candles. We remembered funny stories from her childhood, her first day at school, her dream of becoming a doctor. "You know," Michael said, looking at his sister's photograph, "I think she would be proud of us. Proud that we're together again, that we made it through." I hugged my children, tears filling my eyes. Not bitter tears, but bright, cleansing ones. "She's always with us," I said, "in our hearts, in our memories, and in the way we live on." We had survived a terrible tragedy. We had lost Maya, nearly lost each other. But in the end, we found our way back. We will keep living, for ourselves and for Maya. And maybe someday when the pain has finally faded, I'll see her again in a dream, dancing in her pale blue dress, happy, free. If you enjoyed the story, please support it with a like, a comment, or a subscription. Thank you.